Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 25th, 2024 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I'm Brighton Town Supervisor Bill Maley. Welcome to all of you, whether you're with us in the room tonight or whether you are watching us remotely. In just a couple minutes, we will be starting the open forum portion of our meeting. We'll be doing that after we present some proclamations. The open forum is that portion of the town board meeting that we hold every time we have a board meeting. It's the opportunity for members of the public to share their comments with the town board. When we get to that item on the agenda, I'll give some more detailed instructions. But let me tell you right now, if you're watching us remotely, live streaming or on the cable access channel, you're going to have to log into the meeting on Zoom in order to participate in the open forum, or for that matter, on the public hearing that we also have on the agenda later. For anybody that's not familiar with how to log into Zoom, there are instructions for doing that on the Town of Brighton webpage, which is at www.townofbrighton.org. As we have for many years, we make all of our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters. Tonight, we have Samantha Geffen, who is signing for you now. Also, Benjamin Lair. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Benjamin. We appreciate your service in making these meetings accessible to the community. As a reminder, the agenda, as well as all the supporting materials that we will be considering in taking action tonight, if you're here in the room, it's all on the back table. If you are participating remotely, again, you can go to the Town of Brighton webpage and you can click through to the page with the meeting agendas, and all of those same attachments are there. I'll ask that for those that are able to please rise and join in a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Corrado to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have three proclamations being presented by the Brighton Town Board. And I'm going to start with recognition for Historic Brighton. And we have members of the leadership team of Historic Brighton, as well as our town historian, Mary Jo Lanfear. Come on up, everybody. Come join me at the podium. This is a celebration. I grew up in a 19th century vintage farmhouse in certainly what was back in the 19th century, a very small town. Now it has been somewhat swallowed up by Detroit, but back in the day it was a very small town, Plymouth, Michigan. And I represented the Town of Brighton Historic Preservation Commission for many years in my role as attorney to the town. So I am especially pleased tonight to be able to recognize Historic Brighton on their 25th anniversary. Historic Brighton has done so very much to keep the history of Brighton in front of this community through its programs, wonderful, wonderful programs, so very interesting if you're a history buff like I am, but especially through their wonderful newsletter. As someone who has been a member of Historic Brighton, I can tell you that the newsletter is very much worth being a member of Historic Brighton right there. It is extraordinary. You will learn so much about Brighton, and so many different things. You know, we talk about, you know, especially people who have been in Brighton for many generations, some of the great old businesses. Ray Tierney, former Councilman Ray Tierney, has been writing some wonderful columns about the economic history of Brighton. So it's really a treat. So think about joining Historic Brighton. No better time than doing so as they celebrate their 25th anniversary. So here goes. Whereas Historic Brighton was chartered in 1999 with the mission, and I quote, to explore our town's history and to educate our community about Brighton's past. And whereas from the beginning, this organization has engaged both readers and audiences on a vast array of edifying topics and activities about Brighton's history. And to date, Historic Brighton has published 88 issues of its newsletter, supplying members, local libraries, schools, businesses, and care facilities with each edition free of charge. Whereas committed to community engagement, Historic Brighton has offered approximately 100 programs, free and open to the public, on Brighton's historic sites and landmarks, architecture, notable citizens, how to preserve personal objects, perform genealogic research, and much, much more. Whereas Historic Brighton maintains a website, historicbrighton.org, that provides information about the organization, including upcoming events, membership details, links to specific topics on Brighton's history, and personal research, and an archive of 25 years of Historic Brighton newsletters, which have been indexed in a searchable database for free use by students, teachers, scholars, and the general public. And whereas Historic Brighton began with an initial group of 80 members and has grown to a current membership of about 200, many of whom have participated in or contributed to various activities over the years, such as tours of the Brighton Cemetery. That Brighton Cemetery event was a great one. Corbett's Glen and Edmonds Woods, the archaeological excavation of the land surrounding the Buckland Farm, and obtaining a historical marker from New York State to make the former home of Edward Crone, a Brighton resident who was the inspiration for the character of Billy Pilgrim in Kurt Vonnegut's famous novel, Slaughterhouse-Five. That was also a great event. Thank you, Matt. I know you were a big part of that. And whereas Historic Brighton celebrates a quarter century of examining and illuminating the history of the town of Brighton for its citizens, past, present, and future. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of our Town Council, do hereby congratulate Historic Brighton for 25 years of vital service to our town and happily join in celebrating your silver anniversary. This proclamation is signed this 25th day of September 2024 by myself and by all of the members of the Brighton Town Board. Let's all get together. We've got a great photo op here. Usually I'm in the back row of these things. Works better that way. You want to get in front of me? Here. Oh, here. Here. Yeah. Why don't I have the two of you hold the proclamation? There we go.
Thank you, Bridget.
And I know Arlene would like to say a few words, and maybe some of the rest of you would too. Arlene.
I think you said it all and said it very, very well, Bill. Thank you so much. 25 years ago, Historic Brighton was an idea. How were we going to bring out the history? We don't look like a 19th century historic town like Pittsburgh does. We don't have a village. It was taken through the annexation process of the city of Rochester in 1905. So we've really had to find a way to have people start looking, thinking about the tangible aspects of our history as well as the non-tangibles. And our group is entirely volunteer. Our board of trustees are the ones that had gotten the job done for the past 25 years. And it's really quite remarkable when I listen to you saying what we've accomplished. It is hard to believe that a group of hardworking people, I mean, even that, it is amazing. We're looking forward to continuing our work, and we encourage the public to participate. We have an email address of info@historicbrighton.org. If any of you have an idea that you would like us to explore, or you have an article that you'd like to write and participate in contributing to our wonderful newsletter, we would welcome that. I promise you we would get back to you right away and welcome your thoughts and ideas. We are a membership organization. All of our work is done with the support of those members. We couldn't have done it without them. We don't fundraise necessarily. It is our members that bring in the money we need to produce that beautiful newsletter, which ranges from 4 pages to 20 pages through the years. And you can download them, you can read them anytime, use them for scholarly research. There's so many things that you will find there about our town that are truly remarkable. This is really a wonderful place to be. And we're hoping that we're inviting people to look for it. We even have a tour of Edgewood Avenue. Who knew? We'd go there and take a walk someday on a beautiful fall day when the fall foliage is at its peak, and find the designated landmarks that are on Edgewood Avenue between Westfall Road and French Road. There are quite a few, and it's a fun walk and great exercise too. I'd like to introduce the board members that are here. We have David Whitaker, who is a past president, Matt Bayshore, who you all know Matt too. He is also a past president, and he's coming back on the board. We're so pleased. He had his hiatus year. Our board members serve up to three-year terms, and then they take a year off, and then we beg them to come back. And Janet Hopkins, who has been serving as our membership chair, and is the person that gets those newsletters ready to go into the mail. Mary Jo Lanphier has been serving as ex officio as the valuable historian that keeps us all in line, making sure that we're bringing scholarly information to you. Our current president first, Elizabeth Doty, Beth Doty, and her last meeting will be, let's see, September, yes.
Sunday.
That's right. Our annual meeting is Sunday. Please come. Oh my gosh. Well, let me finish first. Our incoming president, Amy Dodd Ennis. And I cannot tell you how special this is, because her father, Leo Dodd, was Historic Brighton's first president. And here she's starting our second generation, literally, and becoming president with her first meeting in October. We are having our annual meeting at the 29th. It's going to be at St. John's Meadow in the...
Briarwood dining room.
But say that?
Briarwood dining room.
The Briarwood Dining Room. It's a change of venue, so if you have our rack card, it's wrong. We had to change that. It starts at 2 o'clock. And we not only have our annual meeting, but we have one of our trustees, Eleanor Oy, who will be bringing us the life her father experienced in the internment camps, the Japanese internment camps during World War II. It promises to be a phenomenal program, and I hope you all find the time to come on Sunday. Now, let's see, what else here? Well, yes, November 3rd, we are having a Cider and Donuts 25th anniversary event at the Buckland Lodge. And so if you love donuts and you love cider and you want to celebrate with us, we'll be telling stories, and we will be giving our Leo Dodd Heritage Preservation Award to Cynthia Hauk, who is a 45-year preservation guru. Her career was with the Landmark Society, and she retired, and she's still out there in the community, and we are very proud to present this very, very prestigious award to her that day at that event. And that's going to be at the Buckland Lodge, November 3rd, 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. And so we hope to see you there as well. And if the public is watching, we hope that you know that you are welcome as well. And thank you all for this exquisite honor, and we are so glad that you appreciate the work that we have done, and we feel lucky to have had the opportunity to serve the community in this way. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arlene. You talk about someone who has done a lot for historic preservation in this community. You have served on the board of the Historic Preservation Commission. You and Dave Whitaker have been around long enough that you were board members when I was serving as attorney to the town, and we knew we had matters covered because we had people like the two of you who are so committed to historic preservation in Brighton. Thank you both. Thank you all. And yeah, I'm planning to see you on Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Oh, of course.
We're going to see you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we do have our second proclamation is really rooted in history as well. It's rooted in history and in heritage, because National Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated each year. Most months are, September or February or a given month. National Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated each year from September 15th to October 15th. Why is that? Well, September 15th is the anniversary of independence for the countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. So when the month was founded, it was decided to start it on September 15th, which was such an important day in the history of, really of the Hispanic world. Now, the Rochester area has many opportunities to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Two of those events are in Brighton, and they're coming up very, very soon. This Friday, we will be holding a ceremony here at Town Hall at noon. We will be honoring some icons of the Hispanic community. First, Carmen and Andy Bailey. One of my favorite restaurants, and I know Councilman Salzman, one of his favorite restaurants, Carmen's Cooking. Yes, there really is a Carmen, and trust me, if you go in, Carmen is there behind the counter. We will also be recognizing, of course, Carmen's Cooking is right in the 12 Corners. In the 12 Corners, I can never remember what they call that plaza, but right next to Panache, for those of you that are familiar with Panache. We will also be recognizing Brighton Police Captain Jose Caraballo. Jose is the highest ranking Latino police officer on the force. I can't remember exactly how many years he's been with us, but obviously his accomplishments, his leadership have been well recognized and his rank well earned. Then finally, we will also be recognizing Nidia Padilla Rodriguez. Nidia is the founder of the Borinquen Dance Theater. If you have never seen Borinquen and their members dance, you are really missing a treat. So I encourage you, if you haven't, to go down to the MAG on October 6th, I believe it is, not this weekend, but next weekend, when the MAG celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month. It's always a great event, and it's always highlighted by a performance by members of Borinquen Dance. So we will be honoring those individuals here on Friday. Then on Sunday morning at 9:30 at the Brighton Farmers Market, out at over at the Brighton High School parking lot. We will again have a celebration of the month with more performances and very, very little speaking. So, 2 opportunities of many to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month here in the Rochester area. I'm proud to share this proclamation, and I know the town is proud to join in with all of the communities and organizations celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month this year. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed from September 15th to October 15th each year to celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens who trace their roots back to Spain, Mexico, the Spanish-speaking nations of the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas Hispanic spirit, energy, and leadership are woven into the culture of the United States, with centuries-old traditions, rhythms, art, literature, and creativity that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of the Hispanic community. And whereas this year's theme, Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together, pays tribute to the immense impact that members of the Hispanic, Latino communities have made in this country and recognizes their ongoing contribution towards improving America. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of this Town Council do hereby recognize September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month here in the town of Brighton. And together we encourage our residents to learn more about this diverse, trans-global culture. This proclamation is signed this 25th day of September, 2024, by myself and by the members of the Brighton Town Board. And finally, our third proclamation tonight recognizes September as Sickle Cell Awareness Month. At our last meeting, we talked about the need for awareness of diseases. Specifically, we were talking about ovarian cancer last month. And one of the reasons we issue these proclamations is to raise awareness. The need for awareness about sickle cell is so important. And again, as I mentioned, that's why we have this proclamation tonight, recognizing September as National Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Whether through blood donations, sharing educational information, or otherwise, September is a month where all of us can make a difference for people with sickle cell disease. Let me read this proclamation. Whereas approximately 100,000 Americans live with sickle cell disease, a painful genetic blood disorder that causes life-threatening complications such as strokes, infections, and organ damage. Whereas a life-altering disease, sickle cell also often causes its sufferers to put the goals and plans of everyday life on hold because of the chronic pain and serious health difficulties associated with the disease. Whereas sickle cell heavily impacts Black and brown people, as 1 in 13 African Americans carry the sickle cell trait, with over 2,000 babies diagnosed with the disease each year in the United States. Whereas Sickle Cell Awareness Month helps bring attention to the high need for research and treatments and reminds us that blood transfusions are one of the most critical treatments for sickle cell patients, making blood donation, especially from people of African descent, essential to a better life. Whereas while there is no permanent cure for sickle cell, the FDA recently made a groundbreaking decision to approve gene therapy treatments, although financial barriers and systemic inequalities can make these and other treatments difficult to access. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of this Town Council do hereby recognize September as Sickle Cell Awareness Month in the town of Brighton and ask residents to share their knowledge of this disease while remembering the many individuals who live, too often unseen, with this illness every day. This proclamation is also signed the 25th day of September. I don't want to get too far into the fall season. 25th day of September 2024 by myself and by my colleagues on the town board. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we will now begin our open forum, which, as I mentioned earlier, we hold at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's on tonight's agenda. I will say, though, that if you're here for the public hearing on the agenda tonight, we have one public hearing tonight relating to property located at 185 Kimbark being considered as an unsafe building under Chapter 51 of the Town Code. I would encourage you to wait until that public hearing has been opened so that your comments can be included in the record of the hearing. But if you would like to speak during the open forum and you're here in person, in just a moment I'll ask you to raise your hand. When I call on you, please come to the podium to speak. If you would like to speak and you're participating in the meeting remotely, I'll again note that you have to be on Zoom. You have to be participating remotely on Zoom in order to be able to participate in the open forum remotely. Also, as I mentioned, there are detailed instructions for logging into Zoom on the town's webpage. If you do that, you'll be admitted from the Zoom waiting room by the host, and you'll be allowed to speak and unmuted if you use the Zoom raised hand function. I do ask all speakers in the open forum, whether you're here in person or participating remotely, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I'll give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer questions that you might have tonight, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on the agenda. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. So please direct your comments, your remarks to the town board and not to the room or other speakers. Please refrain from any personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or similar disruptions during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here tonight. Also, out of respect for others in the room, we do not allow signs to be displayed during town board meetings, including during the open forum. We'll warn people first if there are violations of the rules. We want everybody to be able to try to follow these rules voluntarily. But repeated failure to follow the rules or failure to follow other direction from the chair during the open forum may result in your speaking privileges being ended, being directed to leave the meeting, or even the early termination of the open forum. So with that, I'll declare the open forum to be open. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the town board during the open forum tonight? There is no one here in the room asking to speak, and I don't see anybody on the Zoom.
If we have no one for the open forum, Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Before you do that, I'm going to ask that you move to approve the agenda with the addition of an item of new business.
Yes.
And that is to set a special meeting of the town board to be held next Wednesday, October 2nd at 9:30 a.m. Right here in this room at Town Hall. We talked about it at our last meeting, although anything that can legally be done at a town board meeting can be done at this meeting. The real purpose for doing this is to award bids relating to the East Avenue Sidewalk project. We'll be opening bids the day before, I believe, right, Jim? It's Tuesday, October 1st.
That is correct.
The bids are due. So on October 2nd at 9:30 a.m., we will make an award on that bid. That's a new project, well, not so new project. It's one we've been working on for some time, funded by a grant in the amount of $750,000 from Senator Cooney to complete some sidewalks on the sort of southwest side of East Avenue in the vicinity of the Allens Creek School. So with that change,
With that change, Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. We do have one public hearing tonight. That, again, is relating to the property located at 185 Kimbark Road under Town Code Chapter 51 as an unsafe building. I do want to remind everyone in the audience, before we start the hearing, I'll give you the opportunity, once we formally declare it open, if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. You can also participate in the public hearing remotely on Zoom. Again, you can only do it on Zoom. You have to, if you're watching us on our YouTube live stream, go to the Zoom. There are detailed instructions for doing that on the town's webpage. Again, you'll be admitted to speak from Zoom if you raise your hand using the Zoom raised hand function. Please state your name and address for the record of the public hearing before speaking. Please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including but not limited to applause or boos or any other similar disruption during the hearing, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here. As I mentioned before, we do not allow signs to be displayed during town board meetings, again, out of respect for others here in the room, and that, of course, includes during public hearings. Persons who don't follow these rules, again, will be warned, but repeated failure may result in your speaking privileges being ended or being directed to leave the meeting. Now, as I mentioned, tonight we have one public hearing. It relates to a building located at 185 Kimbark, which has been determined to be unsafe under Chapter 51 of the Town Code. I will say this is the second public hearing that we have held to consider the condition of that property. We had a series of meetings during which that first public hearing was opened and discussion about the property during that initial public hearing. I just want to let everybody know, with this second public hearing starting tonight, I do not intend to ask the board to take action tonight. Again, reflecting our desire, as we have been doing, to try to resolve matters such as this without having to take action towards a possible demolition or other action ourselves. So I will ask at the end of the public hearing, when all people have had an opportunity to speak, to table the public hearing and continue it at our next regular meeting on October 9th. So I'll ask the clerk, Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, it was noticed originally. I don't have that date off the top of my head, but back when it was originally opened, it
Yep.
was noticed.
But has this public hearing,
Yeah, has this public hearing been noticed?
We didn't publish an addition, we typically don't publish additional here when we hold a meeting.
I know notices have been posted.
Yeah, so if we haven't noticed this again in the paper, I would recommend that we do that for the next meeting if we can get that accomplished. I do know, in addition, that The notice itself has been delivered by several additional means to the property owner through,
Well, and
Yeah.
to the individual that we have heard.
right, to
here
the individual that has
tonight.
been at the public hearing, my apologies, as well as the Secretary of State has received a copy since the property is owned by a corporation, which is a method of service recognized under New York State statute. And I believe the property is also itself been posted with the notice and it's been sent by mail. But I would recommend if we could also notice in the paper for the to be tabled and reconvene public hearing for the first meeting in October as well.
But since I know Mr. Long is here, who has spoken at previous meetings, we will open this public hearing now, and with that caveat that publication be given. I declare this public hearing to be open. Is there anyone who would like to address the board during the public hearing tonight? Mr. Long, come on up.
Good evening.
If you would again state
Yes,
your...
Dustin Long. My address is the side yard at 185 Kimbark Road, as the actual property itself has been illegally boarded up by the town without due process. I'm not surprised that this wasn't published in the paper. It seems to be an ongoing trend of what's going on with this entire situation without proper notices being put in multiple regards. But I'm also disappointed to hear that this is going to be tabled yet again. This is a complete and utter waste of my time to be here in front of all you fine people, having to defend something that you can't even tell me what the accusation is. I'm going to actually start off with, I have been in correspondence with Mr. Mancuso, and he ascertains that the town, in fact, has done nothing wrong. So I'm going to start off reading my response to that claim. So on September the 17th, I write, or I'm sorry, the 18th, I start off, hi, Mr. Mancuso. I'd like to address a few points. In the email I received, you write, we are disappointed you've declined to offer confirmation when, in fact, I made no such declination. This, however, is a moot point, as I was able to have the order of protection amended today to allow the aforementioned caveat. I'm referring to being able to give third-party permission to speak to my wife. I'll be sending a secondary email following this to follow the order and only have correspondence based on the limits of the amendment. I continue as you write, the town continues to be unable to verify you have the authority to act on behalf of the corporation. I also do have the email dated the September 17th, where Mr. Mancuso makes reference to having spoken to Ms. DeMarco, and she also verified that, in fact, I am the owner of TJK Industries. So I don't believe he misspoke when he said that the owner of the property is present tonight, though you were quick to correct him. I'm slightly confused as to what the meaning is, as I've been told that the town wants proof of ownership of the LLC, yet you state that you're now looking for proof that I represent the corporation. I don't need to own the corporation to represent the corporation, but just so happens I do both. Any clarification on this would be appreciated. His email says to me further, as to the remainder of your email, the town rejects your contention that you've been illegally evicted from your property, that you've been denied due process, or that the town has acted improperly in any way. First off, I commend him for his ability to represent all of you as clients or the town, and will repudiate that my contentions. I would offer that they are assertions in lieu of contentions, as they are a matter of fact. To corroborate these statements, I'll make reference to TB-3007-FCNYS, a document published by the New York State Department of State. I include the link. This publication deals with the constitutional due process requirements when addressing unsafe structures and when posting or placarding any unsafe structure with a do not occupy notice. If I may ask, when was the placard placed and by whom? because there has been no such placard placed on the house to this very moment. The bulletin that I referred to clearly states due process of law involves giving an owner or occupant or other occupant, so it doesn't even need to be the owner, of a building notice and opportunity to be heard, and they make it pretty clear and bold, before the AHJ posts the do not occupy notice on the building. I received no such courtesy of any. And yet here we are after the fact. I was provided no such right to be heard. I usually err on the side of caution when it comes to being redundant, but I'll say it again, I have been denied due process as guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. Nothing in this Chapter 1 or anywhere else in this code or elsewhere in the Uniform Code or in any regulation promulgated pursuant to Executive Law Section 381(1) shall be construed as authorizing any authority having jurisdiction to administer and enforce the Uniform Code in a manner that deprives any person or entity of due process of law. In particular, but not by way of limitation, nothing in Chapter 1 or elsewhere in this code or elsewhere in the Uniform Code or any regulation promulgated pursuant to the Executive Law Section 381(1) relating to posting, placarding, and or condemnation of buildings of structures that are unsafe, unfit for human occupancy, or lawful shall be construed as authorizing any authority having jurisdiction to condemn such building or structure and or to remove any owner or occupant or cause any owner or occupant to be removed from such building or structure without providing such notice and opportunity to be heard. Again, I was not provided any opportunity prior to being removed from my home. The only way to have the process commence post-board up is in case of imminent danger. I'm going to pause for my email a moment to reference the New York State Building Codes and Standards Technical Bulletin. I won't read off the, I guess, TB 3007 FCNYS. The term imminent danger is defined in the 2020 PMCNYS as a condition that could cause serious or life-threatening injury or death at any time. If I go past the definition and go back to the actual bulletin itself, Section 109.1, titled Imminent Danger, provides that where the following conditions exist, the AHJ shall require the occupants vacate the premise. They give 4 such conditions. The first being that there's an imminent danger or failure of collapse of a building or structure which endangers life. If imminent was something that truly existed in this case, then the date of January 16th, which isn't even the date of the actual inspection, which was December 28th, it wouldn't have taken until July if it was such a threat. The second possible condition, a structure where the entire structure, part of the structure, has fallen and life is endangered by the occupation of the structure. No such exists. Nothing. This does not exist in this case. The structure is sound. The town has been unable to repudiate my assertion that it is sound. There's been no interior inspection of the property. Like you said yourself, Mr. Maley, that just looking at it from the outside is not enough to make such a claim, yet the town persists that this claim is accurate. The third possible condition out of the 4 is actual or potential danger of the building occupants or those in proximity of any structure because of explosives, explosive fumes, or vapors in the presence of toxic fumes, gases, materials. That doesn't exist here either. And the final would be operation of defective or dangerous equipment. Also not present. So nothing would have provided the town a legal means to board up my property prior to giving me any sort of notice or ability to be heard. I do appreciate that I'm now being heard for the 3rd time and look forward to the 4th time, I suppose. If I jump over to the town's actual Chapter 51, there's a couple highlighted things in Section 51-3, the inspection and report. It says the Commissioner of Public Works or designee shall cause or make an inspection thereof and report in writing to the town board the findings and recommendations about its repair. If that's not available in the public domain, It's certainly not available to me because you still say, do you own the house? Do you own or own the LLC? This is supposed to be by your own town's code, as well as from the Attorney General of New York State, saying that this must be done as well. Anyway, those four do not deem it to be an unsafe structure. None of those conditions exist. Nothing that has been provided, the so-called report, shows an open window and an open door, which have been closed. I also have an entire bit here from where I've received my certification to be a master roofer in this country about roofing underlayment, which the pictures clearly show is intact and present on the home, and that it is a sufficient covering for the roof. And not only is it a sufficient covering, but it's also required by town code to do. Mr. Mancuso's email to me also says that in order to rectify the situation, that there will need to be an inspection by the town. From when I had to turn the town in to New York State for failing to do its job pertaining to roofs, I was told that a permit will not even be considered, discussed, or reviewed if it pertains to a repair of a roof. So unless I'm unaware of a code that requires a door to be shut or a window to be shut, I have not violated any town code as well. The New York State Attorney General, if I can find where I printed that out, does continue on to say that any failure to restore a tenant from a property to a property is also a criminal action. At this point, I do not wish to pursue any criminal charges against the board or any of its members. I do not wish to do anything other than to just be left alone and have my house back. Thanks.
Mr. Long, do you want to have any of those or all of those papers included as part of the record of the hearing tonight?
Sure.
Certainly free to, you can deliver them to the town clerk.
Thank you. Which would be to my left?
Mr. Raymond.
Thank you. So I guess at this time, I would just request that if you do decide to table it, that'd be up to you, of course, but if we can just put this to bed, I won't pursue any other remedies to become indemnified from the actions that have been taken against me and have caused me severe pain and suffering because of it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in the room or online that would like to address the board tonight? I don't see anyone online, and I don't see anyone else in the room. Mr. Mancuso, Mr. Sprague, anything tonight for the record or otherwise?
No, I mean, for the record, I think you've outlined it appropriately in light of the discussion and your direction at the beginning of the public hearing. I think we still proceed as you recommended to table the matter and continue the public hearing at the first October meeting. We will obviously renotice the matter, and I would like to speak with Mr. Long after this agenda item concludes to ask him a few follow-up questions. I will stay in contact with him to address a few of the items that I heard tonight. But other than that, from a technical perspective, obviously defer to the commissioner as to the issues associated with the structural integrity of the building.
Right, so I think we need to let John have that conversation with Mr. Long, and we have a game plan laid out for how we can move forward, hopefully, between now and the continuation of the public hearing.
Then is there anyone else that would like to address the board before I close the public hearing? Before I ask that the public hearing be tabled? Councilmember Corrado, hearing no further, can I ask you to make the motion to table this public hearing until our next regular meeting on October 9th?
Certainly. In regards to the public hearing on the demolition of 185 Kimbark Road, per Town Code Chapter 51, I move that we table this public hearing until our next meeting on October 9th.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. While you speak with Mr. Long, we will continue with communications. We have 4 items of communication on the agenda this evening. The first is from the town's own Sustainability Oversight Committee. As is done annually, we receive this communication relating to the town's capital improvement plan. Their communication congratulates the town on the many sustainability efforts that have already been completed. It also makes certain recommendations concerning the capital improvement plan that was previously approved by the town board at our September 11th meeting. The second item in communications is a comment form filled out by a resident, Ms. Donna Joy Freeman, complimenting town staff, I think specifically your office, Dan, the clerk's office, but also thanking the town for its plan to renovate the town pool and also to add other recreation facilities, a splash pad, a new playground here at the Town Hall campus. Third is a communication from County Executive Bello notifying the town that it will receive a community development block grant in the amount of $35,000 to be used to construct sidewalks. Finally, a communication from the New York State Comptroller's Office. That communication advises that the town of Brighton has once again received a perfect score for its fiscal strength. The state comptroller does such an evaluation of every municipality in the state of New York each year, counties, cities, towns. And this is the 3rd year in a row that the town of Brighton has received a perfect score, reflecting prudent fiscal management of the town's finances, as well as the strong economic environment here in Brighton. It's a 2-part test, and it not only addresses the fiscal strength of the town, but also the general economic environment. As we continue our budget development process here this evening, it certainly gives me a lot of gratitude for the work of our finance department, and I think it should give the community confidence in the work of our finance department, not just during budget season, but throughout the entire year. So I want to thank you, Finance Director Earl Johnson. Thank you so much for the work you've done. You joined us as Finance Director, a little bit over a year ago now, and we haven't skipped a beat, and it's great to see. Thank you to your entire team in the Finance Department. Can I have a motion to receive and file those 4 items of communication? Robin?
I move that we receive and file the items of communication.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports, starting with Community Services. Robin?
Thanks. First of all, due to town board members wishing to pay their respects at a funeral for a beloved departed resident of Brighton that was occurring at the same time, the Community Services Committee meeting was rescheduled from Wednesday, September 18th to Tuesday, September 24th, just yesterday. Among the items we discussed were under matters of continuing business, park issues. The new mower acquired as a 2024 capital improvement is having a positive impact in terms of the ability of parks crews to stay on top of grooming our athletic fields. Parks and highway crews, along with our tree removal vendors, are facing some tree issues on Park Lane at Corbett's Glen, and it's been proving difficult to resolve for lack of access to the tree, to a tree near the gulch. The Parks Department is continuing to monitor the situation and explore solutions. Building alarms have been triggered at the Winter Farmers Market barn, and we hope that the public is aware that the barn, along with all other town facilities, is monitored for safety and security, and nuisance calls to the barn nonetheless do elicit the response of the Brighton Fire Department. Parks crews are working to clear an edge, the Buckland Park Loop Trail, where the grass is encroached on the path, so that we can ensure safer access for those facing mobility challenges. And then an update to our recreation programs. The Recreation Department participated in the new family fall reception for Brighton Central School District for the second time this year. We appreciate the opportunity to introduce new families to the district, to the multitude of offerings within our Recreation Department programming, and look forward to this programming being an annual installment. Fall event planning is underway within the Recreation Department, with plans confirmed for the continuation of our Family Fun Fridays that will extend through the fall season. On Friday, September 27th, we'll offer family kickball at Brighton Town Park from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And on Friday, October 18th, we'll host family escape room activities at the Brookside Recreation Center, also from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The new senior programming specialist for the Recreation Department begins on Monday, September 30th, providing the opportunity for our outgoing specialists to overlap with the onboarding to streamline training. Budgets are being reviewed for any end-of-year spending needs. And the department is beginning planning with our community volunteers, including the inimitable Peggy Dempsey, for the Brickyard Trail Art Exhibition that will take place early in the spring. An update to our Winter Farmers Market. The Winter Farmers Market season will begin on Sunday, November 24th this year. Parking lot work at the Brighton High School parking lot is not beginning in 2025, as approval from the New York State Department of Education is still pending. So inquiries are being made to ensure that the funding for the anticipated parking lot work at the Winter Farmers Market will still be available beyond the close of 2024. The milk barn structure at the site has been demolished, and the site has been graded and restored. And a few remaining punch list items are being addressed in anticipation of the Winter Farmer Market season beginning. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. As you heard from Supervisor Maley, the town will be celebrating its Hispanic Heritage Month celebration on Friday, September 27th. And the Brighton Farmers Market will be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month on Sunday, September 29th at 9:30 a.m. And we look forward to equally compelling programming as we work in coordination with Annette Ramos to bring the festivities to fruition. The IDEA Board is pleased to announce the return of our October Town Talk series, exploring the experiences of different communities within our broader community, which will be offered in two parts this year, with seen and unseen disabilities and LGBTQIA+ experiences. An update to our CEC, Clean Energy Community Priority Actions and Sustainability Funds. The Clean Energy Community Grant application has been approved for the installation of 3 solar energy and geothermal systems in the town, and the town board will be considering entering into a contract with Invictus Energy to implement the work tonight. An update to our Pollinator Pathway Challenge. 28 properties have thus far met the criteria. This is an ongoing opportunity for folks, so please do check out the website to see if you can too add your property to the Pollinator Pathway Challenge. The Conservation Board is currently evaluating town properties for suitability to receive the designation. An update to our town board annual recycling events. Our legacy vendors, E-Waste Plus and ProShed, have committed to Sunday, October 27th for our semi-annual shredding and recycling event. And finally, an update to our 2024 Council Member on Your Corner series. The series has concluded for the year, and we're grateful for all of the feedback that was offered from residents. And formatting for our future council member honor corner sessions will likely return to the original incarnation, where we offer featured topics to keep the community abreast of town projects and happenings. And we look forward to seeing you again in 2025. Under items of new business, we discussed potential updates to the Community Recreation Feasibility Study website, which have been completed. And you can find those at www.townofbrighton.org/928/community-recreation-center-feasibility-. And then we had a debrief of a meeting on the future of Monroe County trails offered by the Genesee Region Off-Road Cyclists Group. And we met, myself and County Legislator Hugh Smith met at Dryer Park in Victor to engage with trail experts and professionals and other community leaders to discuss the future of our trails and how GROC can serve Monroe County residents. And again, upcoming events, we have our Hispanic Heritage Month recognition ceremony, which will be on Friday, September 27th from 12 noon to 1:30 p.m. here at Town Hall. Our Hispanic Heritage Month at the Brighton Farmers Market will be at Brighton High School parking lot on Sunday, September 29th at 9:30 a.m. Our Halloween Trunk or Treat will take place at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing on Saturday, October 19th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Again, our Tuesday Town Talk series, the Seen and Unseen Disabilities session will be at Empire State University on Tuesday, October 22nd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And then we'll continue on Tuesday, October 29th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Where we'll discuss seen and unseen disabilities, the LGBTQIA+ community. Our DEA semi-annual pharmaceutical take-back event will take place on Saturday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will take place on Sunday, October 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, October 16th at 9:30 a.m. or immediately following the Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center. We encourage the public to attend.
Thank you, Robin. And speaking of the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, Nate, your report.
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on September 18th at 8:30 a.m. right here in Town Hall. Most of what we talked about is on tonight's agenda, but I did want to discuss one item here. It's on the agenda tonight, setting a public hearing for a local law to conform with the new statewide real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Brighton was ahead of the curve on this and offered this tax exemption before the state mandated it. I think it shows our deep appreciation to those volunteers and also offers a real benefit to retain and recruit people to join those essential services that keep us all safe. So I wanted to point that out. Our next meeting is on October 2nd at 8:30 a.m. right here at Town Hall.
Thank you very much. Public Safety. Chris?
Bill, I reported on the September meeting at our last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be October 8th here in the auditorium at 0800 hours.
Thank you. And Public Works, Christine?
Similarly, Public Works last met in September. Our next meeting is October 8th at 9 o'clock, or when Public Safety wraps up, if it runs long, which it never does.
Try not to.
Thank you. We'll go then to new business. And the first item of new business, I will ask for a motion to, in a moment, to receive and file the 2025 budget message and the tentative budget. But before we do that, I'm going to ask our finance director Earl Johnson to give a quick presentation to the community about the tentative budget. So we may.
Okay, it'll just take a couple minutes to get the projector going. And,
Sounds good.
you may want to move to the.
Yes, I think we will.
You want one of the lights off, Earl? Yeah, you can turn the lights down. Good, I was wondering if that would disappear off the screen or not. So I guess to begin, I want to remind everyone that we make copies of the PowerPoint and the tentative budget available to everyone. There is a copy of the tentative budget on our website and the PowerPoint under the Finance Department. And a hard copy is available at the town clerk's office for anyone interested in reviewing the materials, and also we're always available for questions. I also want to point out that at the beginning, we normally run through some of our indicators that we track for the different services that we provide. And since we are in the middle of 2024, obviously we report for full year 2023 numbers, most of which continue. For example, I'm always impressed by the police department receiving over 50,000 service calls in a year. And so they are very, very busy. Over 500 criminal arrests in 2023 as well. And town court handled over 5,700 cases, which was 15% higher than the previous year. So those are just some of the notes on the police and court departments. And I'll try to go through these slides as quickly as I can because there are 200 slides. Just kidding, Nate, there's 18 slides. So the highway and sewer departments obviously maintain a large and varied infrastructure within the town. I'll give you a minute or two to hopefully you can read some of the statistics on this slide. One item that stands out is the highway department maintains almost 200 lane miles of roads and about 100 miles of storm sewers. And also leaf and brush pickup are over 45,000 cubic yards throughout the 2023 year. And then we also thoughtfully maintain trees and try to save trees as much as possible. We trimmed over almost 500 tree hazards in 2023. So those are all important things that are going on in those departments. And a library is another key department that is funded through town taxes. In 2023, almost 175,000 patron visits occurred, and which that was over 25,000 more visits than in 2022. Programs and program attendees were also up quite a bit. They were up over 20% each as our library continues to be highly utilized. For Parks and Recreation, they are maintaining over 625 acres of parkland, and our recreation department offered over 600 classes and activities all during the year in 2023. So we'd like to take a minute to tie all of the town services to the budget before we get into the numbers. And under our general government services, we just point out a lot of the necessary work that's done there, such as maintaining the building and fire codes, zoning, and all of the planning activities that the town does. So the next few slides cover our capital budget, which we've talked about last week, and we've talked about quite a bit. So I'll go through some of them quickly here. For Highway and Public Works, we're investing almost $2 million in their capital budgets. And under vehicles, we have one plow truck that we're going to be ordering. Next year, we keep 18 plows on the road and have 18 plow routes during the winter season, so we're pretty much needing to order a plow truck each year. And under our road programs, we have $1 million devoted to repaving and resurfacing, taking care of storm sewers and gutters. And of that amount, about $500,000 comes from New York State in the form of grants. I also want to point out the tree trimming I mentioned earlier, the removal, planting, and trimming of hazardous trees. That budget is $150,000. For some of our special districts, that total is almost $1 million. For our sewer district, we're doing sewer relining each year, and we've been spending over $300,000 annually doing that. A special project this year for the sewer district will be looking at Allen's Creek and the sanitary sewer design to make improvements there. And then also for the sidewalk district, we're devoting more and more dollars to that to try to keep up with demand. And that will be $344,000 in next year's budget. And then for the ambulance district, we collect funds each year so that every 3 years we're purchasing 2 ambulances for that special district. For some of our other departments, we have $3 million devoted to our IT departments, police department, rec and parks, and some townwide departments as well. I'd like to highlight here the $1.2 million grant for the aquatics and playground facilities recently awarded, and also that our total debt service for the bonds and leases that we have in place is almost $1.4 million. So our next slide here shows how town dollars are spent to provide those services. The police department and highway and public works each represent about a third of the budget, and that total budget appropriation for 2025 will be $32,600,000. And the library, parks, and recreation departments combined for almost 20%. So we're putting as many dollars as we can directly into our services. Feel free to stop me if there are any questions. Then we look at our expenditures by type, and with with the service departments that we have, of course, our wages and benefits are going to be our biggest expense, and together they represent about 75% of our budget. And I'd like to point out that all of these areas, the increase from 2024 to 2025 is less than 4%, with the exception of employee benefits. And unfortunately, employee benefits are up 12% this year, or almost $1 million, which is more than half of the increase in our appropriations this year will just be for benefits. And we'll talk about the reasons for that over the next couple slides. So we do not want this to be the case, but this is an area of benefits where we don't have a lot of control, especially with our health insurance and our retirement contributions to New York State. So you can see what's happened over the last few years with health insurance, and for our major health insurance through MVP, that is increasing 15% this year. And that's a reduced amount from the original estimate. And then we also have, there's a number of things going on at the federal level, law changes that are making retiree medical premiums increase roughly 100%. So together, we've had a real challenge this year with building health insurance into our budget for next year. And relatedly, the New York State retirement contribution that all municipalities pay into, you can see in 2022 that did decrease briefly, but since then, over the past 3 years, it has increased $1 million to $3 million. So that's went up 15% last year, and this year it is going up 10%. So, you know, really this has been the challenge of this year. And where the dollars come from to cover these appropriations, about half come from the tax levy, and all the rest come from other sources. The only other source that contributes over 10% are the sales tax distribution, so we watch that very carefully. And we have a slide to look at that in more detail in a second. And I should also point out that interest income for the last couple of years, this year especially, we've enjoyed a nice contribution from interest earnings, but as we know that's starting to change and head the other direction. So we're wondering where that will be at the end of next year. The sales tax I mentioned being 17% of our total revenue. This is the recent history for that amount. You can see where it increased to $6 million and then slightly lower than that in 2023. So it's starting to level off. We budget conservatively, and we hope that continues to, you know, maintain a positive trend for us. Mortgage taxes are something that will bounce around quite a bit. The green line represents the actual number, and the blue line represents the budgeted number. So you can see sometimes it's hard to match those up. In 2023, we had a really slow year with mortgage sales, and we've seen that come back, so we're expecting to get back to a more normal level next year. So when you put all of those together, our main operating budget consists of the general fund, highway fund, and library fund. Again, you see the 32.6 million in appropriations there, and how that breaks down into the change in tax levy. And then this year, we expect the assessed value to be a little higher than last year, which gives a little assistance. The reason that number is in yellow is because that number will change. It's not finalized yet, but we believe that's a worst-case scenario. So we are expecting a percentage increase of 4.75%, which is about 27 cents per thousand of assessed value. And then we add in our special districts, which each have their own story, and they represent about 15% of the total appropriations, which are almost 38 million with those included. And that tax levy percentage change is a little above 5%. But again, those assessments have gone up a little bit, so it'll depend on the actual special district on what the actual increase is. So the last slide here is our required tax cap calculation. And because of the reasons mentioned, we're over the tax cap, and we'll be proposing to vote to override the tax cap this year, because at 2% with today's inflation, especially with our challenges on the benefit side, that's the tentative budget. And are there any questions? I know there's a budget message that was written as well, Bill. I don't know if you will be having any comments related to that, but that's the presentation.
Thank you, Laurel. It can be dry material, but it's important to go through it. Just a couple of things that you did highlight. I know you talked a little bit about some of the grants that the town has received. Over the last 12 months, we've actually received over $3.5 million in a variety of grants, from sustainability grants. We've talked about the grants that Senator Cooney and Assemblymember Clark were able to obtain for us for our recreational facilities, the renovation of the pool, construction of a new splash pad and playground here at Town Hall, grant money for law enforcement, the largest grant we've ever received for law enforcement equipment. We've worked very hard to try to find ways to accomplish the work that we do. You know, in the budget message, we talk about trying to maintain the quality of life, the level of services, but also maintaining our infrastructure, fostering our goal of sustainability. And one of the things that we really are most proud of is the transparency of the budget development process. I don't think there's another town in Monroe County that has nearly as transparent or thorough a budget development process. As you mentioned, we do our capital improvement plan through the summer, starting in the spring. It's something we're not required to do. The state comptroller recommends that we do it, and we've been doing it for many years. We hold budget workshops where each department head comes in and makes a presentation on their budget. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee holds meetings to consider not only the capital improvement plan, that 3-year capital improvement plan, but also the budget itself. And the town board holds 2 public hearings. The law requires that we hold 1. The town board holds 2. And we endeavor each year to approve a final budget before the end of October, so it's done before elections. As Earl alluded, some of the information that we need to develop that budget comes in very, very late. We, yesterday, Earl and Marcia Adams, our Deputy Finance Director, and Tricia Van Putty, our HR Director, spent 3 hours plus at a meeting of our health insurance reciprocal, FLMHIT, the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust. Earl sugarcoated it a little bit. It was really bad. I mean, the numbers that are being presented are really extraordinarily difficult, and the likelihood of literally a doubling or more of the cost for providing health insurance for retirees is what we were presented with. That will add hundreds of thousands of dollars, even if we make some changes that the group is going to be discussing going forward. Those are numbers that we've never had to deal with in the past on that particular item, but as you could see from the graph, we're a service organization. Whether it's police, whether it's the highway people in their trucks, paving roads, picking up leaves, shoveling the snow, we are a service organization, and as you saw from the graph, 75% of the expenditure of town government is reflected by wages and salaries or benefits. Those benefits include health care. They include the retirement system contributions that we're required to make that, as Earl indicated, are also going up significantly. So we never want to present a budget that anticipates that taxes will go up. And we will continue to look at the budget, look at these numbers as they come in, try to identify ways to mitigate some of these expense items, find alternate ways to develop revenues to pay for them. But at the same time, we won't compromise on providing services to you, the community, nor will we compromise on maintaining and expanding our infrastructure, particularly our sustainable infrastructure. It's a challenge, but it's one we're going to continue to meet because we know that that's what the residents of Brighton are looking at us to do. So thank you for that presentation, Earl. And more to follow. Again, our 2 budget hearings will be on October 9th and October 23rd at these town board meetings at 7 o'clock. So more to follow on that. And if I could just have a motion to receive and file the budget message dated today's date from myself, from Earl, and from Assistant Finance Director Marcia Adams, and the tentative budget. Nate, can I have that motion?
I'd make a motion to receive and file the 2025 budget message and tentative budget from Supervisor William W. Maley, Town Supervisor Earl Johnson, Finance Director, and Marcia Adams, the Assistant Finance Director.
Second?
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. And Nate, the reading and approval of claims.
You got it. Earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $633,402.40. One notable claim, Bill, you mentioned earlier, a payment for professional services for the design and construction documents for the East Avenue sidewalks. So we're approving that payment tonight. That payment's in the amount of $10,896.93. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to approve a budget transfer of up to,
The one before that.
oh, excuse me, I checked it off before I got there. The next item is to set a public hearing for a local law to conform with the new statewide real property tax law exemption, RPTL 466-A, for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
As Nate indicated, under the previous property tax exemption, we have made those exemptions available to volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. This will enhance that exemption in certain respects. And it will give us also a local option to provide certain optional benefits that I'm going to be recommending that we do. But we'll talk about that after the public hearing. Motion and second to set that public hearing. Any further comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve a budget transfer of up to $30,000 from the Consolidated Sidewalk District Fund balance to the Consolidated Sidewalk District Construction and Repair account for sidewalk repairs due to residential driveway work at properties in the town. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And as you see in the communication, we do have just a couple of driveways that will cost us some additional money. We've talked about, again, you heard from Earl, infrastructure costs going up. When a resident does an asphalt job on the driveway, often the sidewalk fronting that driveway needs to be repaired. And because cars are going over it all the time instead of just foot traffic, that concrete has a greater depth to it. So this will just allow us to finish those areas this season. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Nate, the next matter.
The next matter seeks to approve an application for a 2024-2025 Justice Court Assistance Program grant in the amount of $367.99 for office equipment in Judge Vilku's courtroom. I move that we approve this matter as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris, the next matter.
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to enter into agreements with veterinarians and veterinarian technicians for the annual police department rabies clinic in an aggregate amount not to exceed $510.
Second.
This is a program we've done for many years with the police department. A great deal for $510. Chief, I know you get a goodly number of people coming through getting their pet.
I'm sure there'll be a line around the building.
Yes.
Is that right? Wow. And that's to be October 5th, is that correct?
That is correct.
Very good. Any further discussion?
That's good.
Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to approve the appointment of Monica Gabel to the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Advisory Board for a term commencing immediately and ending December 31, 2027. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We interviewed Monica, and I'm pleased to join you, and that's a good appointment, good opportunity to bring her on board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye, and why don't you do the next one as well, Robin?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Invictus Energy in an amount not to exceed $146,418 for the completion of solar and geothermal projects at various town facilities, authorizing the supervisor to execute any necessary change orders that do not collectively exceed 10% of the awarded contract price, and authorize the finance department to make any necessary budget amendments. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
You have the communication here, and we've talked about this project. This is the solar piece of this project. These are structures that we've already approved, doing roofs at various park buildings, but this will get those solar panels up there. We will be using some of our Clean Energy Community Grant, and there are additional credits as well. So although the base price on its face is $146,418 for the low bidder, the actual cost will be much less than that, mostly covered by that $100,000 grant. So we have a motion and a second. Robin, you made it, and who seconded? I'm sorry.
I did.
Christine, I thought so, but any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And the last matter, Nate.
The next matter seeks to amend the table of organization
Not
for
the last matter. We'll have
the last one.
more.
Okay.
But go ahead.
For the assessor's department to include the title of real property appraiser trainee and to amend the non-represented employee's salary and wage schedule to reflect said addition. I move that we approve this matter as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
Discussion? This establishes this new position, and it's one that we will be filling very shortly. If there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, we've added an item of new business. Robin, I'll ask you to make the motion to set a special meeting of the town board on October 2nd at 9:30 a.m. here at Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, for any purpose that a meeting of the town board may be called to hold.
Bill, I move that we set a special meeting for the town board for October 2nd at 9:30 a.m. To discuss,
Well, to hold whatever.
to hold whatever
For
business matters that-
for any business that may come before the board.
Come before the board.
for any business that may lawfully come before the board.
And I would add and direct the town clerk to provide notice of that meeting.
And direct the town clerk to provide notice of said meeting.
Second.
And I would just note again, as I mentioned before, I anticipate that the only action that we will take at that meeting is to review and make an award on bids relating to the East Avenue sidewalk project, which we will have received the day before. Why are we doing this with a special meeting? Why aren't we waiting another week? Because this is a project that involves, it's in close proximity to East Avenue. There will be some asphalt work involved. The asphalt plants close somewhere typically between November 1st and November 15th, but you never quite know. We want to get this project done. It's been, when we were hearing at one point that the project might not get done this year, we were very concerned about that. We really were concerned that some of our partners were not understanding the urgency of this project, the safety importance of this project. Senator Cooney got involved again. He got the grant for this project in the first place, He understood how important it was that the work be done this year. He is the chair of the Transportation Committee, and I think in that capacity, you know, people responded. They recognized how important it was, so thank you to everybody, but we got to act quickly. And by opening the bids on October 1st and awarding them on October 2nd, we anticipate directing the contractor to begin work on October 7th, I believe, or thereabouts, and with the expectation it's, you know, it's a project we'll be able to get done quickly. That's important. So that's the reason. We have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye.
Supervisor, before you proceed with your matters, I just wanted to clarify or check on an item. Noticing that the resolution that I have for the assessor matter lists October 24th as the meeting. Everything else I have lists the 23rd, or at least previous. I just want to make sure that the meeting wasn't moved, that I was unaware, or
Dan, which?
the tax exemption matter.
Oh,
It should be the 23rd.
it should be the 23rd. Good catch. That motion was made by Councilmember Werner and seconded by Councilmember Wilt. If we can go back to that item, and I'll ask Councilmember Werner, do you agree to amend that
This is just a typo, right?
motion to hold that public hearing on the 23rd?
Of October.
Yes, of October.
Bill, with respect to the setting public hearing for a local law to conform with the new statewide real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers, we previously approved setting that public hearing, but I believe the resolution has the incorrect date. It should be October 23, and I so move that we adopt that resolution as amended.
To set the public hearing on October 23rd.
To set the public hearing for October 23rd.
And Robin, you?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye, good catch, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
1 week from tonight, at sundown, is the start of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, the year 5785. Today I visited the Jewish home to participate in their annual pre-Rosh Hashanah parade. Fortunately, the weather in the morning was nicer than the weather was in the afternoon, and we had a wonderful time. We paraded around the entire Jewish home campus, led as so many parades and neighborhood gatherings are led by the Brighton Fire Department truck. But we were there to wish residents at all of the different facilities on the Jewish home campus, the Jewish home itself, Wolk Manor, and the others, the greenhouses, to wish them Shana Tova, a happy new year. Staff and leadership from the Jewish home participated. It was wonderful seeing so many staff members out with the men and women that they care for, celebrating, waving flags and banners and noisemakers and everything else. We had students from Hillel School, from Derech HaTorah. We had the Shinshanim who were there, the student ambassadors from Israel who have just arrived in this country. All you needed to see were the smiles on the faces of the residents to see how much this meant. So I do want to wish all of our Jewish friends and neighbors a very sweet and healthy new year. Shana Tova to all of you. Matters of the attorney for the town?
Nothing new to report. Request an executive session for one matter leading to the appointment of a particular person.
Done. Thank you. Matters of the town clerk?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Matters of the board? Then thank you to our interpreters. We really appreciate the work you do. And I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the matter of employment for a particular person.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll on that.
Councilmember Werner?
Discussion, any discussion?
Councilmember Werner, oh, sorry.
Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malik?
Aye. I do not expect that we'll be coming out into open session after that executive session ends. Just a reminder, we will have a special town board meeting here in this room at 9:30 a.m. On October 2nd. That's a week from today. And as always, the public is invited. It's an open meeting. Our next regular town board meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, Wednesday, October 9th, here at 7 p.m. Again, thank you, and have a great evening, everyone.